Do you think it's possible to turn pasture field around that's been neglected for years? Stay tuned and we'll find out. So welcome back to the channel, guys. Hey, thanks for tuning in today. Hey, if it's your first time here and you want to learn about everything going on Wonder Why Farm, go ahead and subscribe, please. Smash that like button if you like the video and ring the notification bell so you get all the latest videos and updates. So, I want to talk today a little bit about some regeneration of some ground that's been let go. As I've talked before, this is an old dairy farm. I moved back here about 10 years ago. Didn't have too many animals when we first came back. Really couldn't afford them. So since that time, I've slowly put up some fence whenever I could afford it and gotten some more animals. So really got this idea from Greg Judy at Green Pastures Farm. He's out in central Missouri. I watch him religiously, and I'd encourage you, if you're interested in something like this, to tune into him. He's very insightful. He's got about 300 head of cows. He runs sheep, and he feeds no grain. He does it totally on grass. So that's something that I'm looking forward to doing. It takes fencing, which I'm a little bit lacking in right now, but I've started to use some of his methods here in this small paddock where I have some goats and I have two beef calves in here right now. So we're going to get to that. I'm going to turn you around here and we'll take a look at the pasture. So what I've got here, I'm going to go ahead and jump in here. But as you can see, I don't know if you can tell for sure or not, but step back here, Annabelle, so I can get in. So as you can see, I've got the ground covered pretty much with hay. And this is just from feeding them every day. Now, of course, this paddock here isn't very large. And I don't really have anywhere else to move these guys. If I did, I would move them every day like Greg does. Greg moves his cows twice a day on the fresh stockpile of grass. I don't really have that option. But what I am trying to do here, this actually was, part of this was a yard that we used to mow. And a good portion of it, about half of it was yard. This part here I'm shooting around here and up that way to where the hay ends that you can see was grass that we mowed. The lower part of this was just basically a bunch of briars and whatnot. So I got the goats first and I put them in here. And you couldn't even walk in here for all the briars. I would usually brush hog this area down around here once per year. The briars would be up past the where I was sitting on the tractor. Yes. What you doing there, Blossom? What you doing there, Blossom? Say hello to everybody. So what I would do, and I'll show you this area down here below the fence where they couldn't get to. This is basically what you can see here. This is what this looked like here before I put the goats in. These trees and bushes and stuff were just overgrown. I mean, you couldn't even begin to walk through where these bushes and trees were. And the goats pretty much, stripped them down and destroyed them. Goats love to browse, and that's what they did. They browse them. They still browse them. You can see down here where they just work over this stuff. They strip them down to almost nothing. So, with that said, they took care of most of the briars in here, but they did get a little stand of grass. However, a goat doesn't make that much, put down that much fertilizer. So when I got the calves here, they put down a lot of manure. And part of what I was doing is, before I started watching Greg, what I would do is I'd just walk up to the fence every day and I'd basically just throw the hay out in the general same area. I never really changed that. But what I've been doing ever since I started spreading the hay out on the ground is he talked about getting carbon back on your land and improving the soil that way through ruminant animals and their manure and spreading this hay out. So I do put up all my own hay, which Greg says to get rid of your hay baler and just let the cows do it. And that's a goal for one day. But for right now, I'm kind of stuck with what I have, and I have a very small operation, as you can see. So I'm just starting out with this, and this is kind of my test plot. But what I started doing was, every day I would come to a bare spot. And what I mean by that is places the hay hadn't been anymore. And as you can see, I've got some more down that way. You're more like a dog than you are a calf. And I started every day. I would put the hay out and I spread it out. I just don't leave the bale solid. I spread it out so that they have a wide place. You can see this is where I fed yesterday. And they've eaten what they want. They're still eating a little bit. And they've laid down on it. They've manured on it. So the idea is that this soil will break down, this hay will break down, and if you pull it back, it's crazy, but I have some green grass that's actually started to come up underneath there. Look at that. So Greg's method definitely is working. Every place that the cows eat and leave their manure behind, they're feeding the soil. There's seeds in the hay that are getting distributed out. So the idea is that through this method that you'll eventually be able to repair your soil. To be honest with you, this, especially now the place where we cut this upper part here where the grass was cut, it grew grass, lawn grass, weeds mostly. I never planted any actual lawn grass, but that place down there is just complete junk. I mean, the ground is terrible. I've never did a soil sample on it, but I've been around farming all my life, and basically the only thing that grew down there was weeds. The goats liked it. They stripped it down to nothing. So, they really enjoyed it. But they did open it up, and like I said, this method, this is my start of it. I haven't ever tried it, but my goal is by the time spring really rolls around and the grass really can start growing, I want to have this whole area here covered with hay, basically, letting it. It's gonna slowly rot down. The cows are gonna, and the goats are gonna smear over it, push it in the ground. And hopefully I'm going to grow some good grass here. Now, my plan is this lower part down here where I showed you where that briar is on the other side of that fence, I want to make another paddock down that way. and basically separate the cows and the goats eventually, because they're getting a little bit bigger now. The cows are. When they were calves and through this winter, they get along really well. I mean, I don't have any problems with that. But I want to build another paddock down there, move the goats down there, and do the same thing. Let them browse that down, and clean out all that trash there, trying to make more pasture. So that's the way I'm going to do it. I'm thinking about putting some Kentucky 31, spreading some of that in here in with this hay that I have down, and we'll see what kind of we get to sprout up. So I'm hoping for good things. So like I said, if you think this method will work, leave something down in the comments. If you think I'm on the right trail here or not. I'm following a guy that's been doing it for 20 years, and this method here. Now again, he has a little different setup. He has the opportunity. He has, I don't know how many acres he has, 14 or 1,600 acres or something. He's running 300 cows. But has all his fences in, his perimeter fences. He's got his cows trained to electric, everything like that. I'm not really set up in that position right now. Just trying this particular paddock here, just to see if it works. And if it does, then I can mimic it around until I can get enough of my fences built, and then I can start growing that stockpile that he's talking about, and giving these places rest. So for right now, my plan is, before I get this other fence done, another paddock built, I'm going to cut this in half, and try to let it have some rest and move back and forth. And we'll see. Again, I don't have the luxury. He moves. He doesn't come back to a place for 60 days, typically. Depending on conditions, obviously, but as a rule of thumb, he uses 60 days to return. I just don't have that luxury right now. I wish I did. I have plenty of land here. I have 160 acres that virtually all of it could be pastured, but it takes fence. It takes money, which I'm a little bit limited on, going out and spending, $20,000 or $30,000 to put up a bunch of fence right now. So I do it when I can. I don't have a large operation, but I do want to do this. I do want to turn this ground that has been kind of neglected. I'd rather turn it around with animals and hay that I already have, than going out and spending a bunch of money on fertilizer and lime and whatnot. To try to turn the fields back around. So that's what I got for you guys today. I just wanted to show you, what I got, and I'm going to end this video here for today. Again, if you think I'm on the right path, the plan is to slowly throughout the rest of winter cover this entire paddock here with hay while feeding the animals. And then cut the pasture down at least in half. Maybe I might be able to do it in like 3 or maybe 4 different sections, and let them have it a little at a time, to try to mimic what Greg's doing on a smaller scale, obviously, and see if that works. And I'm thinking about, since it's not a huge area, I'm thinking about getting some Kentucky 31s, some other grass, and try to plant that, and see how that turns around. I'm turning you around. You can see Annabelle down there. She just dropped down some fertilizer. So every time that happens, that's just improving my ground, improving my soil, feeding the microorganisms, the worms. And like I said, I'm pulling back this hay cover here, and I'm starting to already get some green grass sprouts. So as far as that goes, it is working. It's kind of incubating the ground a little bit. It's been very warm here this winter. It's it's about freezing today, but I think only one day this entire winter we've got down to single digits, which is pretty rare for here. We usually have February, end of January, mid February. It's usually we have several days where it stays in the single digits to zero, or even below. We don't go below zero for a very long time, too often. So, but this year has been very unusual, very warm this year. So I'll end the video up. We'll just take a look at the cows here and the goats as they graze down here on what Greg calls insurance, which is that hay down there. For me, it's a necessity. I spend the insurance payments every day. So, but we'll take a look at those guys down there grazing. And again, guys, thanks for tuning in to the channel. I really appreciate it. I just want to get the word out and show you guys what I got going on here on Wonder Why Farm. Again, just want to thank you for tuning in, and hope you come back. Again, if you like the video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell. And as we move along here closer to spring, I'll keep you updated on what's going on with the animals and the pastures and some other projects we got coming up. It's going to be gardening season here before we know it, so stay tuned. Until I see you guys again, have a blessed day.